Hey guys, I'm Grandmaster Maniac, and today we're going to be covering what is surely the hottest topic in Overwatch right now. That's right, Baptiste is finally here in the competitive rotation, so it's time to learn a new support. Now, I apologize for being a couple days behind schedule on this one. I've had some really crazy issues that have been holding me back, but it's finally here. Today, I'm going to give you guys some of the best tips I've come up with over the past few weeks, so be sure to take some notes. For more guides like this one, made by myself and other top level players and coaches, be sure to subscribe to the channel and check out GameLeap.com. So with Baptiste here, there's going to be tons and tons of people all trying to lock him in during competitive games without having done any prior practice or training with him. You may even be someone like them, but the fact that you're watching this video probably already says you're making at least one better decision than they are. When a new hero comes into the competitive rotation, it's pretty standard for them to have no idea how to play them due to lack of experience and practice, since most competitive players, myself included, rarely if ever venture into the depths of quick play, even if it means missing out on practicing new heroes before they hit the competitive servers. Because of this, anytime there's a new hero in rotation, you can pretty much bet that you're going to get a lot of games with that new hero in them, and most of those games, you'll have someone completely unprepared and inexperienced dragging you down. So, first off, before I go any further, I wanted to give a sort of PSA and just say to try your best to not get tilted from having a bad Baptiste player. If you really feel that much more confident in playing him than your teammate, ask nicely if they'll swap with you, but otherwise, just play it out and wait for the next game. No one is going to want to try their best if you're talking down to them. Just try to keep your head up and maintain a good attitude. Moving on though, let's go ahead and jump right into some of the top 5 ways of using Baptiste kit that you can use to show up all those fresh Bappy Boy players. The most important thing I can mention about playing Baptiste is prioritizing healing teammates over doing damage to enemies. Baptiste can do solid damage output, but his healing output is just so much more effective. To maximize healing capabilities, most of your reload should be coming from your alternate fire being low, not from your primary ammo running out. In fact, you should rarely ever need to reload because you ran out of ammunition for your primary fire. This is just something that you'll want to get into the practice of to maximize your effectiveness, since damage characters will almost always be more efficient than a support character in terms of damage output and killing potential. The other reason why you want to prioritize healing over damage is that you can actually build your ult ridiculously fast. If you focus on building ult quickly, you'll be able to use it more often for different types of scenarios a lot more readily. Getting your ult more often means that it won't be as big a deal if you mess it up every now and then, and it'll give you more opportunities for big plays. So just focus on healing, and you'll be able to drop your ult and be that much more useful to your team. Next up, we're going to talk about what's definitely the most underutilized ability in his kit. His passive Exo Boots jump. Now, this is an ability that is very easy to forget about and is so much more useful than just getting to higher locations. Not only can you climb up to higher locations that you wouldn't normally be able to access, but you can also use this as a tactic to get away from enemy players attempting to dive you, such as Winston, D.Va, or Tracer, giving your team slightly larger amounts of time to get to your position and fend off or displace the attackers. Lastly, and perhaps the best way you could use this ability, is to heal targets that are actually at a bit of a difficult angle. For example, since his healing is mostly projectile based, it can be very difficult to hit certain targets, such as Pharah, friendly snipers who are set up in high locations, and any various teammates who are on high ground at an angle that's difficult for you to reach. You can just crouch for a moment, jump up, and all of a sudden it's a much easier shot to hit. I definitely recommend experimenting with this ability and finding out all the situations you can use it for, and I strongly encourage you to share your knowledge with the community. Now, moving on to his ult, I want to talk about the most consistent way to use it. Making sure that you're building ult by focusing healing over damage will give you your ultimate much faster and will lead you to having it ready much more often. In most cases, the best way for you to use your ult is actually to drop it slightly ahead of your position as your team is about to push in, and use the extra healing from it to boost your teammates and sustain them better through a push. Because of the AoE healing on impact being doubled, it's very easy to keep your team alive through sustained damage. Now, Obviously, this won't stop big bursts of damage, such as headshots from Widow and Hanzo, or certain ultimates like Rocket Barrage, Riptide, or Deadeye, but it's super effective in a lot of situations. This is a consistent and effective way of using your ult, but be sure to vary it a little bit, which actually leads me right into my next tip for you guys. So my next tip is about how to use his ult for damage dealing capabilities. Sure, throwing it down in the middle of a fight sometimes can work and your team will decide to take advantage of it. But most of the time, if you put your ult down without communicating to your team, they likely won't bother using it at all. So, because of this, the one thing I cannot stress enough is that you need to communicate with your team that you are using your ult with the intention of having them get extra damage capability. Taking a second to say or type out, "I'll pop my ult, shoot through it," won't be game ending. I know some of you prefer not to use voice chat or don't have the means to, but I would definitely recommend it as it's extremely useful and will be a huge step to help you win your games from a support role. But if you're dead set against voice, at least use the text, please. Making sure that you let your team know that you're using your ult with the intent of helping them will improve your chances drastically of them actually taking advantage of it. And if you have a Widow or a Hanzo on your team, well then that's just even better, since both can one-shot body shot most heroes and one-shot headshot just about everything else. So just to restate, primarily you want to use Baptiste's ult for yourself to support your team, but during the times that you are intending it for to be increased damage, communicate it to your team for a much better chance of success. Lastly, as you've probably noticed, I actually haven't mentioned Immortality Field yet. Now, this is a big one because I see this one misused a lot. If you throw this ability in at the beginning of a fight, it's almost guaranteed to get destroyed, long before any of your team are even low enough HP for it to have had any effect, since most of the time, the enemy team will prioritize focusing the Immortality Field down before even bothering to attack anyone in its radius. This is clearly a big problem, and makes me wonder why I still see this mistake made. However, you can sometimes actually take advantage of this, and use it as a form of bait whenever an enemy is chasing you down and splitting you from your team. You can throw down the field, heal yourself, and move away to a safer location, since most of the time they're going to waste time focusing down your Immortality Field. This does unfortunately put the ability on a rather long cooldown, but most of the time it's better to be alive without an ability than dead with it, since you can't exactly use your abilities while you're dead. The best way I've found to use the Immortality Field is actually mid-fight, after your team has engaged on the enemy and have started taking damage. Throwing your Immortality Field on high-value targets can be just the opportunity you need to get some extra healing in and sustain them through the fight. Maybe even popping your ult and shift ability just to get a little bit more impact. The other time you can use the Immortality Field ability to strong effect is to treat it similar to a Zarya bubble, by throwing it on teammates to save them from fatal damage. Self-destruct, Riptide, Dragon Blade, Deadeye, they're all easily countered by Bappy Boy just by pressing E. I definitely would advise that you practice getting the aim of it right, as it can be a little bit off from what you're expecting, but once you get it down, there's so much that you can save your team from and become the hero that they're all needing. So anyways guys, I hope you got something out of these tips for Baptiste. I know it's super exciting when a new hero comes out, but really, do yourself and everyone else a favor and get some practice in with him before you take him into competitive. It will make things so much smoother for you and the rest of your team. So, just to recap, make sure you prioritize healing over damage, use your Exo Boots for some 300 IQ plays, and use your Immortality Field to save teammates and get extra time to heal them. Also, don't forget to use your ult often for healing and communicate to your team whenever your intention is to increase their potential damage output. That's pretty much going to go ahead and sum up everything for this video today. So once again, just go ahead and remember to go check out GameLeap.com to stay up to date on all of the latest patch notes, hero updates, all that good stuff, and be ready to take your game to the next level. Also, it'd be great if you guys went ahead and subscribed to the YouTube channel, since we do post plenty of free content here ready for you to access at any time. So, lastly, I'm Grandmaster Maniac, and I'll catch you in the next one.